Welcome to Box Next, our new video series where we host executives and industry leaders to discuss what's trending in the market. Today, we're diving into the exciting world of AI and its impact on marketing. I'm Larissa Palika, Product Marketing Manager, and I'm thrilled to welcome Chris Kohler, Chief Marketing Officer at Box. Hey Chris, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, thanks for having me. Chris Kohler, Chief Marketing Officer here at Box, and been here 5 years, which has been fantastic. But part of that, I actually spent 10 years at Adobe. So
Wow.
always been in sort of that marketing space and was actually part of a company that Adobe acquired. So I was in digital marketing, digital analytics. So I've been in and around marketing for 25 plus years. So yeah, this is a fun topic near and dear to my heart as well.
Nice. So, really excited because I think that AI is revolutionizing the way that we analyze data, that we personalize experiences, and optimize content. So, I was hoping we could explore these ideas and discover the possibilities that AI brings to marketers like us. And we're going to kick off with data analysis and insights. So, how do you see AI transforming the way marketing teams analyze data?
Well, I mean, I think it's important to note that like AI or some form of AI has been around for a very long time, right? And as marketers, I think we've been using AI, whether that's machine learning or deep analysis, like we've been leveraging this technology for many years. And I think where it started obviously was in the data analytics space. So how do you do forecasting? How do you do cluster analysis, of cohorts of customers? Like all of that has been around for a very long time. But I think what's really exciting now is with this sort of generative AI, component. How do you democratize this? Because if you think about the last 10 or 15 years, this notion of data scientists or data analytics or business analytics team, they've been the ones in the heart of like partnership. They're the ones with the keys to all of the data. They're doing the analysis. They're giving that back to you. So as a marketer, you're more consuming that, that content and that analysis. But I do think now in this new world where you're going to give the keys to a marketer, right? And they're going to be able to go and do more of that analysis in a self-service manner, which just wasn't technically possible, even 6 months or 9 months ago. So I think this is the part that's really exciting is how do you get marketers to become data-driven without necessarily, so their support is really the AI versus necessarily only having an analytics team that does that for them.
That's music to my ears. I know when I'm doing an analysis or when I'm launching a product, the last thing I want to do is get stalled out by having to go to somebody else. The more that I can do for myself, the more that I can get that data in my hands early, the better. So let's just talk a little bit more about the impact on marketing strategies and decision making. So how does that trickle down based on what you've said?
Yeah, I mean, I think this notion of like we want to be data-driven marketers is we all want to be someone that makes decisions based on data, but we also know that sometimes that's hard, right? We don't have time. We've got to make a quick decision around that. So you use gut feel, intuition as part of that. But I think having that at the fingertips is really exciting. So as marketers, all of a sudden, but we all have to get educated around this as well, because I think that's the interesting part is if all of a sudden we're going to be making more strategy decisions based on data, well, is it good data, right? How did the model think through that? Like, where did that strategy come from? Can you go and back it up? So that'll be a challenge as well, where as a marketer, you use AI to make a decision and someone comes to you and say, well, why did you make that decision? The answer can't be, well, the AI told me to, as part of that. So I think that's the part where as marketers, we've got to get really educated, understand both at a core level, how that content or data is being analyzed, but also the method and all that around it as well. So a whole new foray for marketers to think, I think.
Feels like there's a lot that goes into being able to write the right prompt for what you're asking the AI. Can you comment a little bit on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a test and learn. Like you have to go in and depending on how you phrase the question, you get a very different answer. So your level of specificity, and I think the interesting part is we'll learn, okay, I'm trying to answer this type of question. What is the prompt that I need? How specific can I be around that? What's the tone I ask? Is it in a question? How do I step it? Do I chunk it out and eventually come to that conclusion? So I think this notion of marketers becoming prompt engineers is kind of an interesting one. But I do think there is an art to it that we're going to learn over time how to do.
I agree 100%. So being able to write the prompt, but then also it really depends on what set of information or data we're querying too.
Yes.
Whether it's a curated set, whether it's like a load of unstructured data as well. And I think that kind of brings us into our second topic, which is like personalization and customer experience. Because when I get a result against something that is a curated set of data, I would expect it to be somewhat different than if it was across unstructured data.
Yeah, I mean, I think as marketers, we've been trying to create these personalized experiences, but it's been really difficult from a data and analytics perspective, and both from a creative perspective to actually configure and create those experiences from a customer perspective. So I think obviously with generative AI, you're going to have a deeper understanding of the customer experience. You're going to be able to create more imagery, more opportunities, really to create and personalize whatever that experience is, whether, let's say for a website, right? All of a sudden, you now can take that journey, what you know about that individual prospect or customer, you can then create in real time, imagine a whole personalized experience journey, the imagery, it may be where they're coming from, their organization, their brand, all of these things that were just not technically possible before. So I think the sky's the limit on this, where ultimately, I think with generative AI, you are going to be able to assemble and create personalized experiences, even on the fly at some point. Around this, which is just, I think, the nirvana from a marketer's perspective, and then from a customer experience perspective, way better as well, because now they're like, this company, this brand knows me, and they understand what my needs are, and they're just going to have more affinity for you as a brand.
Right, so it's speaking to you.
Yeah.
I think like once you see the impact of AI in a personalized experience, or once you get that connection, it goes a long way to driving credibility within the organization. But I think when it comes to the customer journey and the overall experience, AI is going to have a huge impact. And some of that comes from the personalization, but I'm hoping you can talk a little bit more.
Well, and I think personalization done well is
Oh my gosh,
fantastic.
yes.
Done poorly is actually worse than if you even tried in the first place.
100%.
So we've all had those experiences where you're like, why are they targeting me with this? Like, this is like so off of what and you almost lose credibility in the brand or whoever's trying to work through that. So, or the same thing with, a virtual agent experience where you've engaged with a company or a brand, and it's just like, oh my gosh, this is so frustrating. Maybe you've done that in travel or other things, like, this is not helping me. So I do think with, the advent large language models, as we get more complex, more interesting from driving the customer experience, I do think this is something that marketers are going to have to figure out how to take advantage of, because we just didn't have this capability, in the past.
Lots of opportunity, but also got to be aware of the challenges
Correct.
as you move forward and proceed with that good judgment that I hope most marketers have.
Well, and I think the other thing we have to think through is like, okay, so especially around the imagery, people are thinking, well, what's the copyright, right? How was this created? What are the implications from legal perspective? So I think while there's a lot of excitement around all of this, I think the bigger question is, okay, how do I implement this in my organization? What are the legal ramifications around this? What are the customer experience ramifications? So it's all really exciting, but I think we have to, again, get educated and make sure that we really understand what we're doing and how that's going to apply to marketing in our business.
Nice. So we've talked a little bit about those considerations, those challenges. Maybe we can switch gears a little bit and talk a bit about generative AI and content creation and optimization. I think, one of the things when ChatGPT first came out, I was able to plan a trip, and it was really nice, detailed, organized itinerary. But how do you translate that to like an enterprise setting? What do you see the benefits, or even just like the impact of these content creation and optimization capabilities?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is the era of unstructured content. And I think that's the part that I'm really excited about. Obviously, here at Box, we're really excited about that, where you just didn't, you didn't have the ability to go in and use a capability that said, hey, write me the first draft of a press release based on this topic of what you know around my content. Like, that is mind-blowing. And we've done that internally. And then translate in French, and then do it in German. And it's actually pretty good. So you think about that as a force multiplier of productivity, within the enterprise is really, really exciting. On the same front, now we've got all of these files and content sitting in repositories. Imagine all that sits in one platform, and you can go query and get answers to that you never had before. Like this has been done in structured content for years and years. But now unstructured content, all of those files that, your PowerPoint, your movie script, your marketing plan, your asset, like all this stuff, it has never been able to be queried and get answers really, really quickly around that. So as a marketer, I look at this and I'm like, wow, we have a backlog of activities and things that we want to go from a content creation perspective. This doesn't mean that I need less people. This means I can get more out the door, which I'm really excited about. So I see it as a massive force multiplier for marketers to really drive more efficiency in the way that we do this, and then to create, and going back to be more data driven, have better experiences for our customers, and just make us, quite frankly, better marketers as part of this.
What I loved about Box AI when I first got my hands on it was just being able to do that first draft, because any type of first draft that gets me closer to my end goal is a huge time saver. It's always easier for me to edit than it is to start from scratch. So I can definitely see the impacts there. So that productivity and efficiency, really, I love what you said about getting more out the door. Do you want to just elaborate a little bit more on efficiency and productivity around AI?
Yeah, I mean, I think again, you go back to this where how many of us have stared at a blank screen where you're like, okay, I have to write the first draft of, this email that's going to go out to, the entire company or to, and you look there and you're like, oh man, how am I going to start this? I kind of know what I want. Well, imagine you go in and say, hey, write me the first draft with these 5 bullet points. And then you get something to react to and you're like, okay, well, I got to put it in my tone and I'll tweak it a little bit. But that might, something that you might have, languish on a little bit, all of a sudden it's like done in 30 seconds and you get out the door. Well, now I can move on to something that I actually might enjoy doing around that. So, I mean, we're looking at it, how do we drive, SEO, articles and content much faster? How do we create data sheets in the first draft of that, to get out to our customers? What's the copy we need on the website? What might we have an upcoming event, like what are the session titles, and give us some ideas around that. What are themes? Hey, we've got this theme that we did last year, iterate off of that. Like what should we do this year? So the way that we're thinking through this is really someone that can help us, help us just ideate, right? Someone sitting next to us and really supporting our productivity as part of that. So, I mean, there's so many different uses around this that it's hard to like nail down what exactly we're going to use it for, which is pretty exciting.
Well, it just sounds like we've brought another collaborator to the table.
Yeah.
And I love that, because like you've got the people that you work with every day, but now you've also got this additional, faster, more efficient method of processing or bringing something else to the table. So.
Well, and I think the thing that, again, that's all exciting, but, but, we have to think through, okay, what's the governance and the security around this, right? Because as a marketer, we create lots of content that's still a work in progress, right? It's not finished. We don't want to get that out to our customers or to our, our sales team or other parts of the organization. So how do we make sure that the content that they're not ready to release, it doesn't get out there? How do maybe we've got a special launch that is we've got a new speaker coming up for our, for our big event coming up. Maybe we don't want to let the rest of the organization know yet because, we're going to do this as a big, as a big launch. How do you make sure that they don't get access to those things? So there's like all kinds of examples as marketers. Maybe it's the new brand campaign that, we're working with our agency on. Like we want to make sure that gets contained within, right? The people that have access to that. So I think that's the other really big thing is the governance and security around that content. AI is super exciting, but you need to make sure that whatever you're using, something like Box AI is gonna contain that so that you only have permissions to that content and no one else in the organization. If they don't have permission, they don't get access to it, and the AI doesn't as well.
Totally valid point. So we're almost at time, but before we go, can you share one way that you've used Box AI in your day-to-day today? I know you gave a couple of examples earlier.
Yeah, I mean,
give us a good one.
Yeah, we're so we had we just did a presentation with a team around a strategy that we're building out, and not everyone in our leadership team could attend. the meeting. So I took Box AI and I said, hey, there's a 60-page PowerPoint presentation. Break down the top 5 things that are pretty exciting around this specific document. Write me an email as part of that, and then I'm going to basically take that document, obviously within Box, and send it to our exec staff with like the 5 highlights that they missed and they got out of this. So again, that was done in 30 seconds. Something that I probably would have just sent the document without the highlights, but it just makes it more effective, better use of their time. That's just one quick example I think I did an hour ago. So
I love it. Love it. Thanks, Chris, so much for sharing your valuable insights. And that wraps up another Box Next session. Stay tuned for more thought-provoking topics and discussions. And remember, with AI as our collaborator, we're unlocking new opportunities in the world of marketing.